Okay, it's me, and this time you're actually seeing my face rather than just looking down from the camera onto a piece of wood with letters and numbers on it and the words yes and no. And I just like to say, quite frankly, I have had a wonderful time doing the videos for October and for Halloween, and it's also given me a bit of practice, and I think it's expanded my understanding as to how some of these things work as well, because sometimes you get a bit of practice through doing things, and there's some kind of like psychological equivalent of muscle memory which you can build up. That's the way it seems. Anyway, if there's more ideas for things which you want to see me do in videos relating to tarot, occultism, spiritualism, the Ouija board, and the general, section of the world of the weird in which I personally inhabit, then please feel free. The comment section is down there. I like hearing your suggestions. I will read them all. I won't necessarily either reply to all of them or indeed necessarily do them, but at least you're communicating to me, and then that will drip feed me with an extra bit of goodness and ideas and all the rest of that. Now, I am a professional tarot reader, so unfortunately I'm going to have to bore you sometimes with videos about tarot. Going through some of the existing decks that I've currently got is what I tend to do, and I might do go through the cycle all over again. We definitely want to have another look at the Angel Tarot. We've had a good look at the Demon Tarot when applied to the talking board, which has worked out quite good fun and quite interesting. If you haven't seen all of them, obviously click on my channel name, go to the videos section, and there's lots of wonderful creepy things for you to look at there. Not just, of course, the person you're looking at right now, because I'm obviously quite a fun, creepy thing to look at as well. I brought this tarot pack out before with previous videos a while back, and I bring it out again because I like it. And it's also a bit of a reminder of what tarot is not. Okay? Tarot is not one thing. Tarot is so many things, right? And of course with this one particular deck, it's been adjusted to create its own, as it were, theology. It's been adjusted to create its own version of the Tree of Life. It's been adjusted to create a way of telling a story associated with particular specific characters within that story. Okay, and it's got its major arcanas and its minor arcanas. And the minors are boring. We just look at that, It's not really necessarily anything you can gain any real inspiration from, apart from the name that they've given the card, which could possibly then connect to something else. So essentially you're not reading necessarily with the suits. Maybe you are, okay, because you're splitting everything up into its four elements of earth, air, fire and water sort of thing, vaguely give or take with your own interpretation of placed on those things. So maybe you are to a certain extent reading the suits. Maybe to a certain extent you're resonating with the colour of the card itself, and maybe you have some basic intuitive understanding of numerological understanding, so you can apply that to it. But there's no actual extra symbolism in the Merlin Tarot Minor Arcana pip cards. They're just they are their own thing. And the fact that they've got the little words on the bottom saying what they're about explains essentially that it needs to be perceived in a different way. If you look at arts, there's different ways of seeing arts. There's flipbook arts, which you just scan through one to the other, to the other, to the other. And then there's portraiture in a gallery, which you sit down and you try and take in the whole thing and what it's trying to say and all the rest of that, okay? And maybe when you're looking at cards like this, which just have a word on the bottom, and very few other symbolic cues to affect you emotionally, maybe there's a different form of intellectual analysis that you need to deploy when looking at these cards from a divination point of view, or indeed from the point of view of contemplation and thinking things through and self-development, meditation and the like. A lot of the books I used to read way back in the day that was not necessarily popular, there was obviously on the weird person shelves that I used to go to because I gravitated to that sort of thing, because I gravitate to things which are strange and unusual and a bit creepy and weird. Which says a bit more about me than anything else, but never mind. And a lot of those books talked about doing symbolic path-working exercises into symbolism. It was the main thing that people believed was important for magical training. Alright, amongst certain particular groups, the path-working exercise, the deliberate imaginary journey, maybe following a recording, or maybe you're making it up as you go along, but journeying into the symbolism and into the cards and into the runes and into this, that and the other, or the planets and the rest of that. And some people regarded that as a way of exploring through imagination, both the things which you deliberately conjure up, and also those which seem to occur spontaneously, which could, of course, be from within your own subconscious mind, ancestral memory, that sort of thing. It could be a deeply buried subconscious mind thing. It could be some feeling of the body being slightly out of sorts and trying to set itself right in that period of rest, because maybe you're a bit overtired, and then that's having an effect upon the mind. Or alternatively, there's the other part of it, which is, could it be coming from a potential outdoor source? And we have to think carefully about the experience of each form of information and how it comes, what state of mind we are, what parts of the head are being activated in meditation, what are we feeling, how is our sense of self and perception being affected, are we thinking inwardly, are we thinking outwardly, are we perceiving as if we are perceiving through a different part of the body, like the top of the head or through the third eye, or what? And through breaking down how these things feel, then we work out a way of potentially getting back into that state of mind again. Okay, but again, that's not reliable necessarily 100%. There were some things which I could do when I was in my 20s, which I would not be able to do now, because I guess the neuroplasticity and neurogenesis with the passage of time and the years and the different types of exercises I've done has kind of like grown me in a particular direction. So there's things I could do at the age 20, which I cannot do at the age like 48. All right, but there's other things I can do at the age 48 because I understand them better that I could do when I was 18 or 19 or 21 or that sort of thing. Okay, which is something else you need to be aware of as you're going through your growth. And then you need to think about what parts of your personal growth you want to hang on to or in this subject, or indeed to revisit and reevaluate, and which ones you want to expand beyond, if you know what I mean, and try and learn new things. But that's me just talking to you about like the way in which I perceive it, the way in which I perceive how this should be understood. I mean, there wasn't that much education in those days. There wasn't people saying, this is how we analyze ourselves, this is how we look at ourselves, this is how we observe, this is how we choose to not observe way back in the day. All right, plenty of talk about love, plenty of talk about this, that, and the other, but what you need to learn, all right, if you want to get to know this stuff and you want to be able to be good and have some fun experiences which changes your perception as to what could be achievable in the outer world, a certain quantity of work has to be put into it. What the Merlin Tarot does well, I think, in my opinion, going back to the subject rather than me going off on one of my little weird occult tangents, which I like to do, okay, is the general artwork on the mages. Because if you were someone who wanted to try and do an imaginary journey, a visualized journey into a set of symbols, you'll be much better off with some of these. The artwork itself is very light. The colours are faint. There is a sense, therefore, of the celestial of it. It therefore gives a certain level of divine reverence to the subject. It therefore becomes quite a good deck to do visualized work with. Think about the state of mind you'd need to be in, let's say, just by illustration, between like this card here and one of the ones from the Kama Sutra Tarot. Alright, you'd be in a slightly different state of mind when you're looking at this type of art rather than something in the Kama Sutra Tarot, wouldn't you? Okay? So it's the use of the gentleness of the imagery, the use of the gentleness of the colour, which gives the certain specific feeling. You'll notice as you play around with tarot decks and you carry on looking at different new ones, they use the boldness of the colour in very different ways. The silly ones I've got, like the Alchemy Tarot, that uses very strong contrasting colours. That uses very bold, very primary colours. That's very much a brash, in-your-face, immature kind of like expression of emotionality. Whereas the Merlin Tarot, on the other hand, it's got this feeling of something earthly but celestial. You see where I'm coming from there? I can actually like the way in which this is expressed. Obviously, connections to various forms of folklore and mythology straight in that card there. You don't need me to draw you a picture, do you? Come on. No, of course not. And just like even some of the more grim ones are not all that grim. The way the Night Sun Tarot portrayed death was much more, you know, well, in the form of a piece of motif, of course, was much more grisly than the way that death is expressed in this card. Much more grisly in some respects. But this one here, it's got more of a sense of a celestial guide kind of energy, isn't it? Right? Dark may be, but still a celestial guide. Pretty. Anyway, I could basically go on forever because you know that about me already. If you like what I've been saying here, rate, comment, subscribe, favorite, share, like, thumbs up, all the stuff we're told to do to people, we are told to tell you people to do if we're on YouTube, you know, all that stuff. There's bells to click. Click the bells. Click the bells. Subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And let everyone know what that Nick Dutch is here. And he's still making videos. And he's still a weird tarot reader. And everything is the way in which it should be in my little world.